Jukal, we have 5 more minutes to commence. So before we begin, can you just introduce the all the persons, Jukal, Palak, and so that Dr. Anil could able to rectify who are the person who is speaking it.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Sir, we have a 5 members team. That we have three mentors actually. Dr. Bhupinder
Jukal, we
Chaudhary
have
sir,
5 more minutes to
Dr.
commence. So
Shushman
before we
Sharma sir,
begin,
and
can you just
Pavan Duggal sir,
introduce
who is
the
our alumni.
all the
And in our students
persons,
team, we have a
Jukal,
5 members.
so that
Dr. Palak
Dr.
Vora,
Anil could able
she
to
is going
rectify
to
who are the
moderate
person
the
who is
session.
speaking it.
Dr. Jugal Mutta and
Yes, sir.
myself, I am discussing that.
Go ahead.
And I will discuss about
sir,
we have a 5 members question and answer session. That we have a three backend team. That Mittal Desai, Anirudh Singh Jadhav, and Jahid Noida. They are handling all other technical matters in that.
Okay, sure. Yeah. And in case there is an issue, you would be reverting back to me in case there is some power failure or something there.
Yes, sir.
If my voice is not audible or if
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. We will coordinate with you.
Sure.
Good evening, Dr. Anil. How are you?
Hi, good evening. Who's speaking?
Bhupinder.
Bhupinder. Yes, Bhupinder. How are you?
Great.
Yeah, just the time is I'll get around 40 minutes, 45.
Yeah, 45 minutes, and then 10 to 15 minutes for the question answer session.
Okay, fine. Yeah, okay.
We'll start in about 2 minutes.
Sure, sir. Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, Palak HOD sir is with us.
Should we start, sir?
Yes, yeah, I'm ready.
Please go ahead.
Yes. Namaste and very good evening to all of you. I am Dr. Palak Vora, Master Student in Department of Hospital Management, H.N.G.U, North Gujarat University, Patan. To welcome you all to the webinar series based on the theme of Aarogya. Host moderator for the session today. On behalf of Department of Hospital Management, I welcome you all to today's session based on the topic. If you want to postpone your funeral, start the celebrations today. Today's topic is very interesting and has created curiosity in my mind. I'm sure we will learn something very wonderful today. Webinar, his speaker and participants of today's webinar. First of all, I would like to welcome Dr. K. Head of the Department of Hospital Management, North Gujarat University, Patan. He's a great leader, great teacher, and always inspiring us to move ahead. I welcome Dr. Bhupender Chaudhary, sir, Assistant Professor in the Department of Hospital Management, winner of this webinar. I welcome Dr. Sushman Sharma, sir, Assistant Professor in Department. He is the organizing secretary of today's webinar. And I also welcome Dr. Nimesh Kojak, sir. He is also Assistant Professor in the same department and an uncle. All the teachers have been thanking us, and without their support and inspiration, this webinar series would not have been possible. Before I proceed to the introductory part speaker, I would like to invite Dr. K.K. Patel sir for welcome address.
Thank you, Dr. Palak. On this occasion, I would like to first of all, warm blessing of our honorable Sir Professor J.J. Vora sir. I start inaugurating this webinar. Warmly welcome Dr. Anil Kumar, Professor and Head, Department of Management, Metas Adventist College, Surat, and Vice President of Metas Adventist Group of Hospital. He is also an NAV Professor. Sir, very warm welcome to you for sparing your valuable time for our students and for the department. On behalf of department, I warmly welcome you. I am very much thankful to all my student participants, even the students who are associated with the webinar series called Aarogya. Webinars we successfully organized, even with hot topic we organized our webinars till date. Sir, this department is working since 2009, and we have a rich alumnus base. They are working with the various hospitals, even they are working with the government of Gujarat, even they are working with the government of India also. Many students are working outside India, and they are successful. This is the backbone of the department, that our alumni base is very strong and they are very successful after completing this course. I am very much thankful to all alumni for the support. Once again, I warmly welcome to the dear students and participants for this webinar, and I open up this webinar for you people. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, K.K. Patel sir. It is my great pleasure to introduce our eminent speaker for today's session, Dr. Anil Kumar Chilimuntha sir. He has a huge experience in the field of healthcare, management, and economics. He is basically from respiratory medicine background with credentials in fields of economics, management, and health administration. Bachelor's in Respiratory Therapy from Manipal University. He has MBA in Healthcare Administration from Southern Adventist University, USA, and PhD in Management from Manipal University. He also has Masters of Arts in Economics and PhD in Economics from Tilak Maharashtra Vidyapit, Pune. Anil Kumar sir has wide experience, over 22 years of experience in medical education and management fields. Been working in the field of research. Around 13 research papers are published, and he is the author in the area of interest. Participated and presented in a number of national as well as international conferences. He is, as K.K. Patel sir said, he is the vice president of 3 Metas Adventist Hospital, Surat, Ranchi, and Nuzwit. Working as professor and head in the Department of Management, Metas Adventist College at Surat. Sir, we are privileged to have you here, and thank you for sparing your precious time with us. Without wasting much of time, I would request our invited speaker to share his thought and start his session. Dr. Anil Kumar, sir.
Respected Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor J.J. Vora, and respected Department Head, sir, and the convener for this program, Dr. K.K. Patel, the Organizing Secretary, Dr. Sushman Sharma. Thank you for giving me this privilege of being here in this place and then presenting a very, very vital and important topic. We know, all of us are aware that today we are living in the COVID times. It's a new normal for which each one of us need to be accustomed to. And when we talk about COVID is something that has changed the whole world. And in this scenario, when the world has changed so drastically, we are actually perplexed and worried as to what is going to happen to our own health. Our health is something which is very, very important and vital. Any kind of life, but if your health is not good in that life, then ultimately you are actually nearing your funeral. So my topic, why it is inculcative, is because I wanted to say, if you are nearing the funeral, how can you correct yourself? How can you near the funeral in this age of pandemic? The virus which we have today is a very, very minute virus. It is hardly 65 to 125 nanomicrons. Now, if we look at how we can get infected with this virus, we'll find that we have this virus can infect very, very easily. It can easily infect a person with 1,000 viral particles. When you take a breath in and out, there are 20 virus particles in a minute that you're transmitting in and out. When you're speaking like what I'm doing right now, we are transmitting 200 viral particles nearly per minute. And when you cough, just in one single cough, you're bringing out nearly millions of virus particles. And then, because of which you are asked to take the masks, we are actually therefore being very careful, because we don't want this sneeze to, because it has got 200 million virus particles. And just a 0.1 of that 200 million would actually infect anybody for that matter. Successful infection, how does it happen? It is exposure to virus times the time in which you have got exposed. So that is what is going to help us to understand this important aspect of COVID-19. Majority of the people are not affected. That's what you see here as the majority of the people. There are people who are tested positive, but this group of people don't have symptoms. They're asymptomatic. There is a little smaller group which is actually hospitalized. But there are few people who are actually there in the ICU because they're very, very critical. Now, what is this course of the disease? There is a phase 1, there is a phase 2, and there is a phase 3. We are not looking at how the infection is coming. We are not looking at the phase 3, what would happen in the hospital, but we are looking at the phase 2, which is a very, very important phase, because 80% of the people are in this phase 2. And how do we deal with these people who are not infected but they're asymptomatic? This group of people, how them, and what do we do to make sure they don't near their funeral dates? So I just want to give you the course of disease through the days. First you have the infection, then you start having the symptoms, then later you will have to go for an admission in the hospital, and if it gets worse, you need course of disease through the days. First you have the infection, then you start having the symptoms, then later you will have to go for an admission in the hospital, and if it gets worse, you need to go into the phase 3, reaching to the ICU. What has this COVID done? All of us are aware it has affected 23 million worldwide, and there are more than 8 million fatalities or deaths around the world. It is affecting 213 countries. So what is this, that minimum level? Then that's the time your body starts reacting towards this whole thing. Now, how does immunity impact the happiness? When you're healthy, you're happy. When you are taking care of yourself, you're happy. So our brain releases certain important hormones which are mentioned here on the screen for you, like the dopamine, the endorphin, the oxytocin, the serotonin. They're all those happy hormones. And these happy hormones are the ones that actually keep your immunity healthy. How do you get these happy hormones out into your blood circulation? How do you have these active hormones coming and helping you in your immunity? There are so many studies which I don't have time to explain how your immunity can impact the hormones and how these hormones can impact your immunity. And therefore, I just want to take some time and explain to you what are some of these happiness chemicals in our own body. It is called as the reward chemical. When you complete a task, or when you're trying to celebrate a little bit, when you eat food, that is a time when your reward, it's a reward chemical. That's why it's called as dopamine. Dopamine is a reward chemical. Oxytocin. Oxytocin is a love hormone. When you play with somebody, when you're trying to cuddle somebody, or when you're trying to hug somebody from your family or your spouse, or you're holding somebody's hand and walking in the garden, or you give a or you forgive somebody, or you go and serve the person who is in need, not expecting anything in return, then you have more of oxytocin levels increased. Then again, let's come to serotonin. What is serotonin? It's called as a mood stabilizer. That's the third important happiness chemical, as a mood stabilizer, that is serotonin. When do you get this? When you expose yourself to the sun. When do you get this? When you walk in the nature, when you swim, when you cycle, when you meditate, and when you are running and exercising. That is what actually gets released into your blood circulation, because you are doing some activity, and that activity is leading out to give you the serotonin levels. The fourth one is the painkiller. It is called as endorphins. It's basically called as a laughter exercise is there. You also have some essential oils with smell. Those things can actually activate the endorphin levels in our body. When you watch a comedy show in the TV, or when you're trying to eat a dark chocolate, or when you're exercising, again, you have those endorphins. So how do you get all these things done? There is a program that is called as celebrations. What is this program called as? It's called as celebrations. And what are the celebrations called? It is basically an acronym. It is a group of words brought together and then formed to make it as one single word. And this is called as celebrations. Celebrations has got certain alphabets in that, and each alphabet that you're seeing on the screen there is actually to do certain activities to make sure that your immunity would grow well. So this 12 important alphabets in the word celebrations is what we can build your immunity, and it can delay your funeral service. It can delay your death on earth. So the first thing, the C. The C is choices. Choice is the cradle of destiny. Why is it the cradle of destiny? Because choices often determine our destiny. There are two paths. You need to decide which path you want to go to. And you take a decision every single day. And when you take a decision, you are accountable for that decision. Stress levels increase, there is a hormone that is called as cortisol, that you start having increased stress levels. So when you choose well, when you have a good choice, then ultimately the choice takes you to happiness hormones. When a choice is bad, it takes you to those stress hormones. The stress hormones such as the cortisol that you have in your body. And we also have the lactate, which also acts as a stress hormone also. So our lifestyle habits can influence our longevity. That is what we're going to learn today, the whole day. Try to understand what is the objective of our life, and then what are we to do. We understand there are so many good things that can actually give us an opportunity to choose better, and then we ultimately will understand that we are ensconced in our own way, in our own choices, and in our own choices we make, we are ensconced in those choices, and therefore we have to bear the consequences of those choices. So choose well if you want to live longer. Choose well that you will do what we are going to discuss today, because that is what is going to make you celebrate, because you are a living individual and you're a happy living individual. Now, when you have to decide certain things, you have to decide in such a manner that, because the decision that you take is going to be your life's reflection. If you want a different result, make a better choice. And when you make a better choice, you can make a better choice for the second alphabet, that is exercise. All of us understand C is for choice and E is for exercise. Exercise is the elixir of energy. When you do exercise, you actually are trying to train yourself. How much time? 2.5 hours a week. Each time that you can do anything, you can go for bicycling, you can go to the gym, and you can take care of any of those things to make sure that you are physically active. When you are physically active, those happy hormones get released. Let's do one activity. I want all of you to close your eyes and just imagine you have come out from the class, you're very tired, or you came from the work and you're sitting there at your home, you're very, very tired, and you just don't have any energy in you. But you will just take a decision and you'll decide, I will get into my jogging track. You gradually wear the jogging track, you try to move out from the house, and then with that same difficulty of that less energy that you have in you, you move into the ground there, and then you just take one single jog. You just do a simple gentle jogging for just one single round for 5 minutes. And after 5 minutes, when I come back and ask you that question, you will not say that you're tired. You will say that you are fresh and you are happy. What has actually made you go from within 5 minutes, you are totally exhausted and you have no energy, but today, after you walked for 5 minutes or after you jogged for 5 minutes, when we ask you, you are so happy, active, and you feel all the energy on the earth is there in you. Why? Because you have those happy hormones which have gotten into your cells. That is what is actually understand as to what impact it can have on your emotions. Emotions are positive, those act. When you are sad, you don't want to be active. You want to be within the house. When your mood is bad, you just have to do certain things which are like going out for an exercise, and then immediately you start having those happy hormones into your blood circulation. So do exercise because you can get the benefits of it in a large manner. Exercise not only changes your body, it changes your mind, your attitude, and your mood. So if you want to have a good personality, go and exercise. We did the celebrations. C we finished, E we finished. Now we're coming to L, liquids, the lubricability of your functionality. All of us know we have in us 80% of our body is actually constituted with the water that is there in the body. And then when we try to use this water is a very, very vital thing. It facilitates digestion, it is a temperature regulator, and it also is a major constituent of our blood. And then when we try to take sufficient water, our dehydration slowly vanishes. And then there is always a lot of waste in our body, and that waste actually gets excreted through the urine. And when you have your urine coloration is not white, that means you are not having sufficient water. You need to make sure that you drink more water, because your blood should not be thick. It has to be thinner to flow much faster in your system. So that will help you to make sure that you will have that kind of issues. When you drink more water, it is like a laxative. You don't have constipation. Dehydration may also cause dizziness and headache. It can also develop some kidney stones and gallstones. But it always shows that the older people, you need to take at least 8 to 10 glasses of water. It depends upon your age, it depends upon your activity, it depends upon which environment you're going into. Basing on that, the consumption of water varies from person. Female water consumption is different, male water consumption is different. A small child's water consumption is different, and others also, it is totally different. And when you're trying to use this water can also be used as a treatment modality. Many of us, we have a lot of problems, and we can use this hydrotherapy to help us. But I'm going to tell you about one very, very important that's called as hydrothermal therapy. This hydrothermal therapy is basically a bath for 5 minutes with hot water, and then immediately you take bath with cold water for a minute. The same cycle you continue for 3 times. The total time that it takes will be 14 to 15 minutes of under the shower. And then when you try to give hot water, you are actually creating a vasodilation of your blood vessels in your body. And when you take cold water onto your body, you're trying to contract those blood vessels, and also the skin that is actually taking the cold and hot water. When you alternate this, it will start stimulating your thyroid. Your thyroid gland, which is here, is basically a gland which is the largest when you're small. And as you age, the thyroid gland starts shrinking. It starts becoming smaller, and it starts becoming inactive. Therefore, you find children have the highest immunity and adults have the least immunity, because when you have the white blood cells made in the bone marrow, they come to the thyroid gland to get trained. They want to become T cells. They want to identify the virus. They want to identify the bacteria. They want to identify the foreign bodies in your blood. And that what happens is the thyroid gland trains you to understand what is good and with what you need to fight. So if you want to fight the virus, if you want to fight the bacteria, you need to make sure your thyroid gland is active. And how can you keep the thyroid gland active? You can keep it active by doing this hydrothermal therapy. You can have a simple thyroid thump when you're taking bath. Activate your thyroid, and it will create a mechanism where the thyroid gland remains to be active till you become. I wish I can take more time on that. We don't have much time to ponder on that. But again, another important thing is always make sure you conserve water, because the word good health. Water cleanses, it refreshes, and it is a powerfully aids your body's restoration. The next most important thing is environment. C for choice, E for exercise, L for liquids and water, and E is for environment. This environment taken care, it is the empowerment of your community. Just imagine yourself, if the effects of this overpopulation on this earth is impacting the health today. Overpopulation often damages a nation's economy. And then you'll find that because life is flourishing in suitable environments, we have a climate, we have water, we have good soil where food can grow, and there is good air which we can breathe. And if you're not taking care of environment, the climate will change, the water will vanish, the soil will stop producing the produce, you'll have famines, you will not have food to eat, and the air that you're going to breathe is going to be so bad that you can't breathe fresh air. We see that in Delhi today. Because of this air pollution, we don't want to live there. Of our environment. If you take care of our environment, hygiene is a fundamental health principle. You need to take care of the environment. Many times we try to even do this in the hospital. We encourage patients to go and then open the windows of the patients every half an hour in our hospital, because we don't want we want the fresh air to come inside. And we have made sure our air conditioning system in the ICU, our operation theaters, they get good amount of fresh air through these respective systems of ventilation. Negative pressure rooms, again, same mechanism. You try to push out the air which is inside, which is not good, and you bring in the pollution. And so many diseases which we can talk about because of air pollution. And these are all the studies that we find there. And then when you try to come into the environment, today we can see in the US, there is a particular place, they say it is basically the whole dust, the whole environment has become so bad that it is blocking the sunlight. And we don't have sunshine. And if you don't have sunshine, your immunity will be lost. Why will your immunity will be lost? Because sunshine is required to develop in us vitamin D. Vitamin D is required for us to be having a good immunity. When you come into the sunshine, you have those happy hormones released. When you come into the sunshine, you are actually taking the energy from the Surya, or whatever important names that we have for this important solar system activity, where we need to make sure the sun needs to be there. And then we should remember this, it's our responsibility to manage the environment and its resources, because we are the stewards of the earth. We are the caretakers of our earth. And you and I today can determine what would be the future of our generations. Can your son, can your daughter live happily tomorrow? Can your grandchildren live happily tomorrow? It all depends. If spiritual environment is good in the house, you'll find that you'll have a better environment in the home too. So make sure that you create a good environment upon you today, how you care for the earth. I want to talk about an environment in the house. The environment in the house is what determines a good family. When your environment in the house is good, when your spiritual environment is good in the house, you'll find that you'll have a better environment in the home too. So make sure that you create a good environment, and you also create a good environment at your home. The fifth thing, you want to start believing in something which is supernatural. Believing something which is supernatural that controls your life, it determines that you're having a good feeling in your own body. And you start making sure celebration, because it is the foundation of life. So therefore, who am I? And that will lead you to spirituality. And the belief or faith in a living God brings improvement in health and life's satisfaction. The purpose of living, you have a reason to live. You have a purpose why you are brought onto this earth. There is some work to do for you. Therefore, you're on this earth. And that's what belief brings into you, those happy hormones. The sixth one is rest. The most important thing, restorer of your resilience. Many times we don't realize the value of sleep. When we realize the value of sleep, by the time we realize, we are already too old. start working in about the value of sleep. And our circadian rhythm is so importantly done because it is the way in which our body functions. And then I wish I can spend a little more time here, but melatonin gets produced into your body only through this circadian rhythm and through sleep. And this is what will ensure that the more you sleep, the more you take sufficient amount of sleep, it gives you good amount of a sleep wheel. I don't want to spend much time on that. You can read about the sleep wheel little later, but this is something which is neglected by the today's youth, and therefore you have a lot of stress that gets built up for them. Because when you don't sleep, you start having more stress, and because of that various problems and difficulties in your own life. So go get a sufficient good amount of sleep. You need at least 7 to 10 hours of sleep. Again, it depends upon the age and it depends upon the activity that you're taking up. So make sure you stick to a schedule. Keep your room dark. Make sure that you exercise. So when you make yourself exercised, you start building. When you start today during COVID times, you can't go out. You can do a static jogging in the house. You can keep an alarm, and then you can keep a stop timings. If you want to drink water, you can also keep alarm for every 2 hours. Alarm will ring for every 2 hours or 1.5 hours. Then you can actually sip a bottle of water so that you can actually regularly make sure you're hydrating yourself. So exercise, water, all these things will impact whether you're going to have sleep or not. If you don't drink well, you can't sleep. If you're not getting sleep, I want you to go back and think, what is sleep disorder? Of course, if it is a chronic one, ultimately you need to go back to see a doctor. Now, the next most important thing, the seventh one, is called as air. It is an activator of your vitality. Breathing in fresh air is something very, very important. So when you have to breathe fresh air, you need to go into the nature. And how can you go into the nature? Only when you conserve that nature, you can go into that place. And then you'll ensure that when you breathe that fresh air, it supplies fresh oxygen to the small little cells which require that energy for cell metabolism. And therefore, when you're breathing well, you will ensure that you're having fresh air, because fresh air is secret of longevity. Fresh air is secret of longevity. The next most important thing, again, we don't take note of this, is temperance. We need to make sure that we balance our own life in making sure we eat rightly. When we eat vegetarian diet, when our food is good, and then when we try to maintain our health and we start taking alcohol, we start taking wine, we start smoking, we start drugs, all these things will actually affect your immunity. It is not any of these hormones. Maybe initially you have a high, and then you will find that some of the good hormones get released. But at a later stage, gradually, your body starts having stress. That stress will again lead to those stress hormones, and you'll start making sure that you have those happy hormones, you'll start losing them. I for integrity in celebrations, and that is called as the incorruptibility of your honesty. If you're honest, if you're transparent, if you are trustworthy for your friend, you don't have to worry about it, because honesty means you don't lie. And then integrity, it's a matter of integrity to balance life. Make sure you don't have anything against anybody in your mind. Be the first person to go and ask for forgiveness. Be the first person to go and ensure that you make things right with your friends, because integrity is the foundation. Integrity can help us avoid problems in the coming days with your spouses and with your friends and family members. O for optimism. It is again a very, very important thing. It is the operant of your sanity. How can you have optimism? How can you have that faith that you're going to be healed? How can you have that faith that you are going to make yourself good and nice in the coming days? Only through your mind can dictate it for you. A positive attitude can be cultivated. Laughter is a good medicine. Many times we understand that when you laugh, I told you last time, those happy hormones get released. So therefore, make sure that you always make this optimism as part of you can celebrate more when you practice this kind of an important thing. Next one is N for nutrition. In celebrations, we are coming to the second last thing and the most important thing, and that is called as nutrition. Nutrition is something which you need to make sure that you ensure there is a balance of the diet that you take. Preferably, it's always good to take a vegetarian diet. Non-vegetarian diet is not good. As the Seventh Adventist organization, we promote vegetarian diet since 1844. And then the research was done, and the National Geography Channel has featured this Seventh Adventist group of people. They live the longest. And why do they live longest? Because they follow the celebrations. They live long, and therefore they follow this principle of celebrations, and that's why they live long. And that is a feature that is carried out in the National Geography Channel. So when you have the right body fuel, a balanced diet, you'll be able to make sure that your health is going to be good and nice. Not having the junk food today in almost all the restaurants, all the whites you need to avoid. Anything white, white rice, sugar, white, salt, white, all these things, the maida or whatever you're using for making those cookies, to avoid. And then ultimately you'll make having to a cancer hospital and giving service there for a month, or go to some place without getting any payment and without even wishing something to get in return for you. Go and do that service. One important thing I do for my children, I actually tell them every time they have a birthday, they need to go and distribute some food packets to the people who are poor. There is an activity within our own organization where we try to go and help people. When you help a person who doesn't expect anything return from that person, you'll start having that wonderful satisfaction. You automatically have that happiness because you are ensuring there is a social support network. Part of the social service network, therefore, you are ensuring that you are having those happy hormones. So make sure that you have those happy hormones, because you need to make sure you make changes small and smart. And what are those? That is, it has to be specific. All of your management students, you know this, smart change. It has to be specific, it has to be measurable, it has to be achievable, it has to be relevant, it has to be timely. Then you'll make sure that you have that good health in you. Good health is a gift from our Creator God. The proper preventive maintenance reduces the risk and leads to a happier, healthier, longer life, and you will not have to think about your funeral. And when you have to care for your lifestyle, when you have to boost your immunity through New Start and many other programs, you'll make sure that you're not hard pressed and you're not crushed. You are not perplexed with the things that are happening, and you are not left in despair. You are not persecuted with the virus or the bacteria, because you are still taken care, because you are not abandoned by the God. You are struck down because of coronavirus, but yet you will ensure that you are not destroyed, because you are a person who is a wonderful person created by God to go and make sure that you are a happy. If you want to make sure that you will be happy, make sure you developed and ensure the immunity will make sure that it will give you good health. And you want to postpone your funeral, if you celebrate celebrations, practice celebrations, and you will make sure that everything will be taken care for yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for very wonderful, very essential in this COVID era to increase the longevity as well as the quality, improve the quality of life. Thank you for the sharing the celebrations with us. Now I will hand over the session to Dr. Jugal Mutta for question answer session.
For your great information. and that make us understand that only a material and money is not important in a life, but a right attitude with the humanity and hospitality, it is very important to be developed as a good person. So now I want to ask you some question, which I have collected from our groups. We are live on YouTube also. A good number of subscribers are watching live us now. So I'm congratulating all of us for this successful event first. So my first question, which is asked by our moderator in comment section, Dr. Palak Vora, that today's era, it is very competitive era. That in field of education, in field of entrepreneurship, a job selection, examination, so the stress level for the youth and as a person is too high. So how can it possible to manage a good lifestyle during this era of a competition? We can see our ancestors' life was quite not so easy, but it was very satisfied, but we are not. So how can it possible?
Ultimately, it is the lifestyle of ours that determines our longevity. We have a lifestyle program in our hospital, and this lifestyle program teaches important values of how you can take care of yourself. How can your lifestyle be good? A simple thing about sleep. Last week we had a session on sleep, and many people have not realized such an important thing they are not following. And because of the deprivation of sleep, put on heavy medication because they are actually on those medications because of the stress levels. So first thing, to reduce your stress, follow the celebration. If you follow the celebrations well, automatically your stress levels will reduce. You need to make sure, as I told, your choice. If you choose well, that is what is will determine what you will be 10 years from now and what's to come. I'll again give you a dimension here. What genes you have in you can get modified in 2 generations. What gene makeup that you have can get totally changed after a generation or 2 or 3 generations. And therefore, it is your duty for the earth to percolate. The earth is made to last forever. And if we care for this earth, if we care for ourselves, ultimately, we are going to reduce the stress levels on us. We are going to reduce the stress levels on the earth. And that will ultimately determine the longevity of us and the longevity of the earth on which we live in. Otherwise, tomorrow, longevity of us and the longevity of the earth on which we live in. Otherwise, tomorrow, our earth will become extinct. Why are we having those missiles? Why are we having those bombs? They don't have the important optimism. There's no positivity of life. There is more of pride. There is more of selfishness. I want more. I want more. I comes first. But when we talk about become a community, we start thinking about others, their welfare, their care, their happiness is our happiness. The world to live in.
Okay, sir. Very thankful. Second question, which is asked by Jahid Noida, that a question regarding determination. That you have said that it is very good to daily practice exercise to maintain a good health, but it is not very easy to strictly follow that routine. So how can it be possible to be a determined to follow this routine very strictly and to make it more enjoyable?
I can actually tell you all, this small little gadget that we have here can make you do wonders. And there is a wonderful thing called as alarm. And how many alarms you can keep on that phone? You can keep hundreds of alarms. It depends upon what phone you're using. And for example, if you want to, all of you are going to be future hospital administrators. Why don't you think of having a small meeting of 15 minutes in the parking area with your supervisors, with your colleagues? It's a part of your work. You're working and you're going there in the sunlight. Automatically, you're ensuring your colleagues are having those vitamin D. When you're having a committee with all those people, you know you have gone for a long time, and before they leave, why don't you give a bottle of water and hydrate themselves? And then making sure that, for say you're very busy, you don't have time to move at all from there. You're stuck in the office for hours together because of various works. Stand in your office and do those sit-ups. Okay, you have problem with your knees, you have some sufficient amount of space there, you do a static jog there. 5 minutes of jogging is good enough, and you will not go from office tired, but you'll go happily. And then when you're trying to create a routine, it is very difficult initially. You will start today, you will take it for 5 days, 10 days, you will forget the lecture of celebrations, you will forget the lecture of the date of your funeral, you will start thinking about how you can relax yourself. But when you have your friends, make friends who can be part of your team. Make a team. So if you are not able to go that day, somebody will call you. So it is called as a buddy system. When you have a buddy with you, use that buddy to take you. What we are trying to say here, follow celebrations to make yourself live longer.
Okay, sir. Third question is asked by Mittal Desai. That question is that you asked about very much carefully about the environment and ecology. So, which kind of the lifestyle changes we should adopt to conserve our present environment and ecosystem?
For example, our environment is something very, very vital. It has got an impact in all arenas of our life. When you come out, whatever you see around you is basically the environment. So if you see today, you have a concrete jungle. It uses heat because when the sunlight is falling on the concrete building, the building is actually emitting out radiation. It's giving out the heat. When you're using air conditioning, it's giving out that heat outside your office. When you're trying to see the environment around you, there are very less trees. You can plant trees, you can care for those trees, you can educate the younger generation that is coming up today to make sure they care for the environment. Simple thing. If you are stopping a tap which is leaking there, you are saving a lot, not just for yourself, you're saving for your child, you're saving for your grandchild, you're saving it for your great grandchildren. Into our mind, automatically we will care for our environment well, and we'll ensure that we don't bring out those hot gases out. Developed those stress hormones in himself, and ultimately he died much earlier. I don't say every atheist is dying early. They must be living.
Anil Chillamutha Saab, he's our visiting faculty, and I know sir since 2009, and it was a very great time that we met to each other depends upon destiny actually. And I'm very thankful and very much thankful to you, sir, that you have spared your time. And in near future also we will be keep in touch for such things. And me and our institution really need you kind of people always. And I'm very much thankful to again Dr. KK Patel Sahab for always motivation, then Bhupinder Sir Sahab, then our Honorable Vice Chancellor Sahab, who is very busy scheduling person, so he could not give his speech due to official reasons. Otherwise it was very nice session, and very much thankful, and very thankful to the team, Dr. Jugal, Dr. Palak, and other associated members, Anirudh and all. And it was a very fantastic session, sir. It was really fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Anil Kumar. Thank you. I appreciate your valuable time, and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I'm requesting also Dr. Bhupinder Chaudhary, sir, if he want to share some opinion and.
Thank you once again.
So